want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We're blasting out of the bunker. It is 0 dark 30 and oh yeah, folks, we missed a big one this weekend, or did we? No, I didn't. I know you didn't. But there was a topic we didn't discuss on Sunday Night Live, and I'm more than willing to discuss it with you now. And it's a very important one. It has to do with our power grid. What's our power grid? Well, that's our standard of living. Without electricity, we have no light, no heat, right? Except for the very few people who have managed to continue to live on the primitive side of things, which is very comfortable, folks. Don't kid yourself. Primitive living is very comfortable because you have fewer, shall we say, worries. So that makes it very comforting. But still, let's get back to this. Electricity. Without electricity, your gas pumps don't work. You don't have gas pumps, can't put gas in your car, can't go anywhere, can't go to the store, get food. Can't get food? Well, you see where this is going. Really bad times. Well, so I need to also preface this by saying, frequently I say that SHTF is a process. It is not an event. Shit hitting the fan, right? It's not just one big blob of shit hitting the fan. It's a continuous motion in a direction, making things worse, things getting bad. Now, that is not to say that there are not serious and significant events. And those are the ones that cause chaos. They lead to chaos, serious discomfort. And this weekend, we almost had a very big one. In North Carolina, someone who understands a little bit about how the power grid works and our infrastructure decided they would do something about it. Not because they're right-wing violent extremists, but because they're left-wing Nimrods and they want revenge. If you read the Department of Homeland Security's report that Mayorkas put out over the last few days, it identifies, right, people who are acting out their vengeance. Bunch of spoiled babies, in other words. Well, that would be the left wing. Not getting their way? Oh, the abortionists not getting their way? Let's threaten everyone with, if we're not safe, if abortion is not safe, you're not safe. Really, right? That's how these people act. So in the past, I've said our power structure, our electrical grid is incredibly vulnerable, incredibly so. Make no mistake, it is incredibly vulnerable, incredibly vulnerable, incredibly vulnerable. In the past, we have had people in the Bay Area of California shoot transformers and cause localized problems. Localized problems. What is a transformer? Well, it's basically a steel garbage can with metal windings and oil inside of it. Right? A very specific type of oil. And if you shoot those, the oil drains out and they start to malfunction and fail. No power in that sector. Now, what is a power substation? Well, you've all seen those power lines everywhere, right? They're strung out and they go for miles and miles. And that is the electrical infrastructure. That's the electrical infrastructure. All right, we're back. So you see those long distance power lines, and when you take that super high voltage they're carrying and you need to make it useful for your little house, right? You step it down. Right? You go through what are known as power substations, and they're all over the place. Every town and every significant neighborhood has a substation. And if you start messing with these things, you screw up the balance within the system. Everything is built, folks, not with 500 times more power than they need, just in case, They're built to handle the loads that the local network requires. So if you start messing with that, you can cause, overload, underload. You can cause serious problems. Well, some clown in North Carolina knew enough. He knew just enough to cause problems. And he did. Right? He or they shot up several substations and nearly caused a major sector of the power grid to go down. Right? They caused some local problems, but the report I read indicated that if they had shot out several more, they could have lost a big block of the power grid on the East Coast by causing these system imbalances. So there is a lesson to learn here, folks. And it's one that you and I have been aware of, and I think we just need to be reminded of. And that is that while SHTF is a series of events, it is a process that plays out. There can be significant chaotic events within it that trigger massive discomfort and possibly loss of life, etc. Now, telling the world that you have to be locked down for 2 weeks to flatten the curve, that was a pretty significant event, wouldn't you say? Government continuing to scare people is a pretty significant event that it continues to play out again and again and again. Government loves events because they get to stand up because everyone is affected and they feel it, right? They feel the event. And so they're like, well, we better fix this. We're the government. And so the government thinks they're going to fix things. Well, no, they just use it as an opportunity to exercise their authority, their power. So this idea that some person's group, whether or not they're, related to some other government entity, right? They can, folks. And I think this was a beta test. They can see exactly how the grid reacts. They can see how the people react. But how many people would it take, understanding how the power grid works, knowing the key locations and substations, and they're not hidden, folks, to go hit, to create widespread power outages that can affect entire regions of the country and cause SHTF chaotic events that can lead to power grids down for significant periods of time. And then the people, that is people like you and I, being put in the position where we have to defend ourselves and live very primitively because of what has happened. So, what do you think of that? What do you make of that? How do you plan for that? Well, it's the same thing as all other plans, right? It is food, water, shelter, clothing, right? Means of self-defense, medicine, all that stuff, right? That's how we prepare for it. And then understanding up here, right? The prepared mind. Very important. Very important. These people, whoever they are, can do that. They can cause these types of events within the process of screwing the country up. And if you think the government isn't involved in it, why is it that every decision Joe Biden makes things worse? Who could be that stupid? Folks, it's not that he's just that stupid. It's that this is intentional. They're intentionally bringing our country down. They're intentionally making things far, far worse. It's because they have a plan. They have a purpose behind this. That's to cause the collapse of our current socio-political economic model. And they think they're prepared now. They believe that they're ready to take control of all of us, once again, the way they have in the past, right? Where we become peasants, serfs, and slaves. And they are the privileged aristocracy. And they'll give themselves other names like the oligarchy or the technocracy. If they were intelligent, they would remain invisible. But they aren't invisible. They're playing their hand. They're showing us who they are. They're telling us what they're doing. That's the World Economic Forum, the Bilderberg types. That's why they need to silence us, shut us up. Don't be silent. Don't shut up. Be prepared. Understand they can pull the grid down anytime and blame it on you. Oh, see, that's part of their game, is everything is your fault. Something bad happens, it's that vast right-wing conspiracy. It's violent right-wing extremists like parents and grandparents. It would be funny if this were not true. It would be humorous if this weren't so deadly. They don't have to rely, folks, on some massive international strategy using the military to bring down our power grid. You can do it quite effectively with a dozen fully trained men, shall we say, with rifles that have significant power, and they could take down a lot of stuff, folks. Substations, as discussed, the security they have is a fence with some barbed wire over the top of it. That's their security system. There are not cameras everywhere, and if they were, what would it matter? There are not guards and police watching our electrical infrastructure. These are unmanned, unprotected, serious, shall we say, keyways for keeping our power going. They're very vulnerable and very weak, right, when it comes to, well, the power. Folks, chance favors the prepared mind is yours. I'll talk to you tonight. See you then. Semper Fi and Godspeed.